Welcome to Invisible No More, the podcast where we explore triumphs over trauma and the powerful journeys of healing and resilience. I'm your host, Shannon Huff, and together we'll shine a light on the stories of strength, hope, and the paths we forge to reclaim our lives. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Invisible No More. My name is Shannon Huff. I'm the founder of Shielded Sisters, and I'm here again with Meghann Trapp, Air Force veteran. Just an amazing person to know. When we left the last episode, Meghann was telling us about how her assaulter was just left to stay in the military after everything he'd done. And so, Meghann, one of the things I was talking about in the last episode was, even with all the trauma that happened and, believing, not believing, religious issues, you have still found a way to thrive and make your life fulfilling. And that's one of the reasons we had you at the conference, was because you are able to turn what happened to you into a positive thing. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about where you are now and what you've been doing to thrive in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again for having me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll probably kind of, without going too much into the story, just basically leave off with how I ended up out of the military from the last
Okay.
episode. Um, Kind of more of a summarized version. Basically, yeah, they protected him, they refused to charge him with the sexual assault. He was able to stay in. And meanwhile, my life goes forward and I'm ordered to go to therapy. I'm it's literally part of my treatment plan, but I'm still showing up to drill. I mean, I'm doing everything that's required of me. I was never on any medication, mind you. So my psychiatrist had found me fit for duty, and I was actually being treated here in Colorado at Buckley Air Force Base because that was my closest MTF. And my leadership up in Wyoming decided to take it upon themselves and start strong arming the whole thing. It was like the minute they heard I was diagnosed with PTSD, they're like, nope, you're out. We're going to med board you. And I was like, what? I've served 10 years of my life, and I fought hard against my entire chain of command. They brought up my trauma from at 21, I was drugged and gang raped. And I buried that for decades because at that time, I mean, that was 2002. Like nobody knew how to handle it back then. They just sent you on your way, and it was like, good luck with your life. And so they brought that up, and I mean, it was horrible. I think for me, the betrayal from my command was almost worse than my assault because I was betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect me. I was called incompetent, emotionally unstable. They started saying, you're a piece of crap firefighter, a piece of crap NCO. And it was like, wow, this is my life. I'm very passionate about it. Mind you, had all these numerous awards and achievements and had done everything they ever asked of me. 10 years with nothing on my record. And it was like all of a sudden I'm total crap. So fought hard, but my contract ended and that was it. I was out with nothing. So the rug was essentially pulled out from underneath me. And I really had to go through that very, very, very dark period. I unraveled really quickly. I'd say within a couple months, it was like, I was very much in denial about my mental health because I thought, well, I'm not one of those veterans that's actively planning out her suicide. So I'm not one of those veterans because I didn't have an idea of how to do it. I didn't have like a plan, right? But I knew, I mean, I couldn't get out of bed every single day. Every single day, I just laid in bed and wanted to die. And I remember saying, God, please just come take me off the earth so I don't have to do it because I couldn't go on. I was in nursing school. I was halfway through nursing school to commission as a flight nurse. I mean, they knew that I planned on retiring from the military. Um, and the stuff that my leadership, that's a whole nother story, would take forever to go into. But the things that they did to me were absolutely disgusting and toxic and corrupt. And they were pissed that I stood up to them. And it was like, I mean, did you think I'm going to be the person who's going to be like, sure, railroad my career, right? So luckily at the time, so this was about May of 2019. So I was out, what, 4 months? Because I had just got out in January of 2019. Um, and I had my own fitness business that I used to run online for going on 4 years at that time. So before this happened, I had kind of had things strategically placed where I was connecting and networking with people at masterminds and gone to Bali and Orlando with other entrepreneurs. And I know that had that not been in place, I mean, I'm sure I probably would have found where I am now, but I think that definitely helped kind of set up the my healing process. I had a friend that I connected. She's from Nova Scotia, and she was a social worker and dealt specifically with trauma, DV, survivors, things like that. So she and I had bonded because of my story, and she came to Colorado, and she said, "Meghann, you got to go to this course. I got to introduce you to Scott." And I was like, I mean, I was so cynical. I'm like, nothing's gonna help me. Nothing can help me. I'm so beyond help. But okay, what do I have to lose? And so she introduced me to Scott, who is one of my mentors, and he's an NLP coach, and which stands for neuro linguistic programming. Very much Tony Robbins, mindset development, things like that. And again, I'm like, I don't believe this. Because I was in such a dark place. I'm like, nothing can help me, And so again, I didn't have anything to lose. And he's like, I know I can help you. I need you to be at this course. And I was fully in it for, okay, I can't be a coach, meaning my fitness business. How am I going to run that if I'm so stuck where I'm at? Like I can't even get out of bed. So that was really my sole purpose in going. It was for that. And I started, it was a 10-day class, and it completely changed my life. And I mean, on every level, it changed my life. It changed my mindset. It changed the way that I viewed things, the way that I processed my trauma. My anger was a huge one for me. And as a coach, the stuff that I went through is actually how I coach my clients. Because I have to know, right? I have to go through it to know how to coach them. So I'm certified as a master practitioner, hypnotherapist, timeline therapy, all the things that we use in NLP, which is why it's so effective, because it's not traditional talk therapy. So basically, I go through this course, and I'm able to see events in my life like a timeline, and to release all that trauma. I'm like living in that trauma and those emotions every single, I mean, the amount of anger that I had, I was ready to like get out of my car and stab people if they cut me off. I was that angry just all the time.
Yeah.
And I got done with the training, and my Scott's like, you're just soft around the edges now, and you're balanced in your masculine and your feminine energy. And he was like, you're literally a different person. And so that's how it started. I thought, okay, my story is powerful. So where do I start? And I really didn't have an idea. And I thought, all right, well, maybe I just do a Facebook Live. And that's how it started. I just started sharing, and even my closest friends and family had never heard my story. They knew something had happened, and they knew like stuff had happened on my deployment, but I went live, and I had just a huge response to that. I had people inboxing me, guys even, who were like, oh my gosh, this happened to me when I was in the service, or, they could have been a civilian and it happened to them. And just people constantly message, you need to keep telling your story. You need to share your story. This is so insane. And I'm so sorry they went through that, but you need to tell your story. Because yeah, a lot of survivors don't want to tell their story. And so that fall, I started, I'm like, okay, we need to fix the way the DoD and the military and veterans this is not okay. The way that we handle, why are sexual assault and mental health the top two issues, and they remain the top two issues forever? Well, there's a reason. Because we know it's tradition. It's so ingrained in how they, it's like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. Okay, well, if people have trouble with fitness, then remedial PT. If people have trouble with finances, we send them to finance or get financial help. We have all these resources, and yet they don't want to really handle and change effectively how we deal with sexual assault in the military, and especially even more so mental health.
Well, that's because we'd have to admit there's a problem. You know, every time we hide something, every time we look the other way, kick a woman out or a brother that has it's a way of putting it under the carpet.
Mhm.
We don't have this problem in the military. We're the greatest fighting force in the world.
Right. But we can't figure out those two things.
No.
Why is that? Yeah. No.
And the more of us that tell our story and the more of us that come forward and demand answers, the more they have to listen to us, right?
Mhm.
You would think.
Mhm.
But
every time I go to all of our veteran events and military events, all I hear about is transitioning out of the military and how hard it is. Yeah, it's hard to get out of the military, but guess what? Living for 30 years as a survivor of sexual assault in the military is hard too.
Yeah.
And there was no program when I was in, you know, or the 60-year-olds that are coming to the retreats now, or, there was no programs for us.
No.
So we've come a long way because of people like you and me that are like, no more. We're telling our story. We're going to demand answers
Yeah.
because we want to thrive. But I want to back up a little bit because I want to say something to
Yeah.
you. I'm so glad God did not take you. I'm glad God did not answer your prayers. When I sat in your class at the conference and you were going through the therapy, the hypnotherapy, and I was sitting there and I didn't really participate in the conference because, you're the founder, you're busy, you're making sure the cereal is out at time, whatever.
Right.
But I was sitting there and something you said, and I just started holding my face like this.
I think it was
I was,
when I said step into the light, or something
Mhm.
about stepping into the new you. I think it was right at
Yeah,
that point. Yeah. What you were
yeah.
saying.
And I was holding my face and I could feel just tears and tears. And I was holding my face and I was telling myself, what you are doing is making a difference. You're not the person who sat there in 1992 and was told, you might get HIV because of this. He's only going to go to jail because he had an affair. Uh, if you tell anybody, it's going to not be believed because who would have HIV in the military? You
Oh my
know?
gosh.
So what you do, and I could see why it would change you because I was sitting there telling myself, it's okay. You're not that person anymore. You're doing this. You're finally using your voice. You found your voice. And it was like I was, what, when a mom holds their kid's face and they're talking to them,
Right.
that's kind of how it felt. I was like holding my face and telling myself, it's okay. You're going to be believed now. And I think the more power we give survivors to understand that at least people like me and you are going to believe them, you know, we bring more power to this movement.
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad that they talked you into going to that training because you, I've heard so many things about the session you did and how powerful it was and how much it changed them. So,
That's awesome. Thank you so much
wow.
for
But yeah, I'm so glad God did not answer your prayers. And whew, I'd have to had a little talk with him. Be like, "Now, God,
Oh, what are you doing?
bring her back. She's important." So we get through. You were gang raped. You were raped in the military. You weren't believed, really, sort of, but he
Yeah.
wasn't punished properly.
No. I mean, they let him full on retire. Meanwhile, my career my
Yeah,
reputation was damaged. They were
yeah.
like, "Oh, she's emotionally unstable." I mean, that's just the different levels of stuff that I had to fight, from my fire chief all the way up to my wing commander. Um,
And going from being fireman of the year as a woman to
yeah, toss her. She's got
so
PTSD.
not only do you have your emotional baggage, your career is ruined. And then you start guessing,
Oh, yeah.
at least in my mind, I would be guessing, like rethinking everything I done. Like, were they just like trying to make numbers or something? Like all the questions, question everything. But you didn't let it stop you. And I think that's what's so important for everyone to understand is this doesn't have to end your life. You can thrive. You can help others. You don't have to help others. You can just help yourself and live. And there are ways to get through that. So let's just real quick go through uh how this works and why it's so powerful.
So I talked a little bit about mindset, right? And the big thing is, people, we always want to say everything comes from the conscious mind. It's like everything is done. It's not that it's incorrect, but everything we do is truly on the unconscious level. And so that's why hypnosis ties in with the timeline therapy. That's where your mindset's changed. It's basically like you're given new glasses to put on to see the world from. And it's also how we don't, it's so, there's so much that it's hard to like go into just a few things, but neurolinguistic programming is not just like linguistic means language. It's not just about, okay, how we say things, but we don't understand when we talk about even poorly about somebody or something, our unconscious mind hears that. So we have to really be careful about, saying things like never, always, or, I even catch myself with my daughter's about to be 3, and, being a mom, single mom is extremely challenging. And I have to really think, be very intentional with my words, because I'm like, I am shaping her mind. And that's what it comes down to. That's how we get that self-worth. I didn't have good self-worth growing up. I had all kinds of stuff in childhood before even all these things happened. And so it was retraining my mind how to think and how to talk to my unconscious mind, because even our thoughts, um, even our thoughts are, that's you speaking to yourself. So it's learning how to love yourself. So even while you're going through things, because I'm a huge, sadly, I'm really bad at being negative to myself and beating myself up just over and over and over, like, oh, what's wrong with you? And you have to say, okay, it's about holding yourself accountable. Like, yeah, I can do better than that. I can be better than that. But also having that love and that compassion for yourself in that moment at the same time, because we still need that. We've never been where we're at before. We don't realize as we're going through it that this is the first time we've been at this place. It may be familiar to other things, but it's still the first time in this situation. And so it's really learning how to process even things that our brain perceives as negative. Like, it's just a learning lesson. Okay, it didn't turn out how I wanted. And yeah, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to have those feelings, not staying stuck in those feelings. A big thing for me was changing up, having a daily routine is a game changer. You talk to any entrepreneur, any successful millionaire, billionaire, people that are like, have it together, and they have personal coaches. That's why they are there at that point. But it's, even if it's a 10-minute a day where you wake up and you do meditation or journaling or, meditative music. I mean, there's so many little things that you can incorporate into your daily mantra, so to speak, to help put you in that mindset to be able to handle the day and to be like, okay. And then at the end of the day, the biggest thing I took away from my mentor is, regardless of the day that you have, I mean, it could go to crap, right? It could be like, this is the worst day ever. And then at nighttime before going to bed, okay, what are 3 things that I'm grateful for? What are just 3 things? It could be, okay, I got up, I worked, and I ate, or I, drank enough water and I ate. That seems really simple, but it's teaching your mind how to find positive things regardless
Yeah.
of what you're going through. Gratitude is huge. Gratitude also a big game changer. It changes your perspective on things.
Yeah, absolutely. I always, when we're at our retreats, I always say, if you do nothing else after getting out of the bed that day,
Yeah.
make your bed.
Yeah.
Because when you go back that night, you've succeeded in one thing. You could not do anything else. Or, if you're just stuck in that like, I just can't do anything,
Yeah.
and you've washed the dishes 5 times, put the dirty cup in there and wash them all again, Uh, because it's not about getting the whole house clean. It's about
Yeah.
the one thing. And then the next time, oh, hey, it's 2 things. Oh, hey, it's 3 things. And gratitude, like you said, and just, I think we so often forget to be kind to
Oh
ourselves.
my gosh.
You know, we give so many other people grace, and we say, "Oh, look at that. You're doing great. You're doing great." But you make one slip up on your own. You do one thing that, and it ruins your whole day.
Yeah.
And I tell my daughter this all the time. It's one day, not your whole life. And
Right.
there's a lot of more days in your life. And I think the more we understand that and the more we're kind to ourselves, the easier it is to heal.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. It really is. I mean, like I said, having the self-love and thinking about, okay, am I hearing how I'm talking to myself? If somebody was talking to me that way, that would be awful. Like,
Yeah.
or if I was talking to them that way, ooh, they probably wouldn't want
They
to be
wouldn't
my
be my
friend.
friend anymore. Yeah. This morning, even before we started taping, I was looking in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I got, wrinkles here and this doesn't look right and blah, blah. I'm like, girlfriend, come on. But the things we tell ourselves so often aren't even close to the truth. And it's like, oh, you failed at that. oh, you're so fat. Oh, you can't do anything right. And we keep projecting that on ourselves until we believe it, and nobody else can tell us any different. Yeah.
Perception is projection. Therefore, what we
Yes,
perceive becomes our reality. Because
absolutely.
we what we feel is, so you think about, and it is hard. It is hard when someone has inflicted pain on you and hurt, and you're like, how can that person? But you know what? And it's so cliche, and sometimes I hate saying it because it does that, but it's literally the truth, and that's all there is. Hurt people hurt people. And I am able to, yeah, I don't condone their behavior, but I'm able to look at people and be like, I can separate the person from the behavior, because I'm like, they are just a really hurting individual. It doesn't make it right. Same thing with my perpetrator, all the things that I've been through. I don't have to own that. I don't have to own their behaviors. They chose that behavior, and that's not on me. All I can do is own my stuff and look and compare myself from day to day of how can I be better? How can I improve? How can I live life joyfully, happily, um, and let go of, I mean, once you let go of that stuff, it's literally this huge weight that comes off of you. But people don't understand it's an evolving process. I mean, for me, I still haven't figured out relationships. And I'm like, how am I still single? Aren't there, I know there's got to be somebody out there.
I think there's always something we're gonna like wonder about, like, why am I still doing this? Why is this? But I think, we've come to the end of another episode, if you can believe it.
Mm.
I think leaving this on a high point, like you just said, like own yourself, and that was their problem.
Their
It's not
choice. Yep.
you.
Yep.
That was their choice, and they're the ones that have the problem. And you have so much capacity in your heart and in your mind to heal and to thrive. So, Meghann, I know we've just, it feels like we just started talking, and we're already 40 minutes into this. Well, 20 and 20, ish. But just thank you for joining us. I'm so grateful you're here. Like I said, that God didn't answer your prayers, and I know we'll have you back at another conference, and thank you for doing this podcast with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thank you for doing what you do. You're awesome.
Absolutely. All right. Love you, girl.
Love you too.
Thank you for joining us on Invisible No More. We look forward to having you join us every other Thursday, and we'll see you again next time. We'd like to thank the members of our Founders Circle, Superbio, Walmart, USAA, Sauk County Veterans Service Office, National Electrical Contractors Association, and Julie Norton. Ask us how you can be a member of the Founders Circle today.